Next up on the program is my friend Brad Stone. He is a senior executive editor for global technology. My God, that's a long title, Brad. At Bloomberg, Bloomberg News, I guess would be the correct way to say it. And you also know him as the author of The Everything Store, Jeff Bezos and the Age of Amazon 2013, The Upstarts, Uber, Airbnb, and the Battle for the New Silicon Valley 2017. And he's back at the Amazon trough again, reporting on...
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Amazon Unbound, Jeff Bezos and the innovation of a global empire 2021. But welcome back to the program, Brad. How you holding up?
Thanks, Jason. I'm well. You know, the pandemic was actually weirdly or perversely a good time to write a book because I would have been quarantining anyway. So it kind of worked out.
I just started writing my second book, and I was in Italy, and I stayed a week longer, went to the beach, and the family went home, and I had the most productive week of my life. I'm curious for you as a writer, what is your process, and how do you get the words to flow? How many words a day do you hit typically? Take us through that. Let's go inside baseball.
Yeah. Sure. I kind of like to say that the only thing worse than writing a book and being on deadline and being in the midst of it is not being in the midst of it, right? It's like I need the focus and the deadlines and I maybe like the sort of mental activity of having a project like that. And when I do, and when the story's great, as it is with Amazon, in the last 10 years. It's like a brain virus. I'm going to sleep thinking about it. I'm waking up and, my productive time's in the morning. I kind of feel like a good goal for me is like 1,000 words a day. And that's my goal. I've usually got it outlined. I wake up early. And that gives me like the whole day to kind of marinate on it, what I want to write the next day, how I'm going to approach the material. And if you can do that and stay disciplined, then 100 or $120,000 word book is within reach. And I kept I had my day job at Bloomberg, and I've got kids and was doing a bunch of other things, but that was the goal, 1,000 words a day.
And when you write it, can you multitask on other things during the day? Or I wonder if you're like me, where if there's other things going on, I seem to have a hard time getting the words to flow. You'd have that distraction. So if I go to another location and I'm out of my house, I'm out of my office, I'm turning my email off, and I'm just focusing for that like 4 to 6 hour block of just trying to get the words to flow. And I typically, when I do that, I can get that 1,000 to 2,000 word a day thing going. And like you're saying, I get that hint that when you're in that zone, it's almost like you can't write fast enough, right? The words can't come up fast enough, and you're like, oh, that's a chapter, that's a section. Oh, and you're just like, how do I get it out fast enough? And then there's other times when it's extremely frustrating, I would suspect.
Yeah. I can multitask, but on different kinds of things. So I probably couldn't multitask on another writing project. That would interfere. Yeah. But meetings, editing other people's stories, some of my other responsibilities at Bloomberg. That I find easy to do. But it's just like when I'm working on a book project, that's taking up the kind of writing part of my brain, and anything that would be too similar to that, I wouldn't want to embark on a magazine story when I'm working on a book project. I think that would interfere.
When you think about nonfiction writing and telling the stories of businesses and entrepreneurs, what do you think the key is in terms of writing the prose and story architecture? Do you have any insights in that now that you've done it a couple times?
Yeah. A company like Amazon poses a massive challenge. I mean, people want to understand, readers want to read these stories chronologically. That is the way the brain works. That is the best way to tell stories. There's a great, there are many millennia of demonstration into that. And the challenge with Amazon is that everything's happening at once. And, you not only have different business initiatives, but the central story, which is the transformation of Jeff Bezos almost before our eyes, from the geek who extolled the technical specs of the Fire phone to the guy gallivanting around Hollywood, retiring from Amazon and building a super yacht. So it really was an organizational challenge. How do I tell the story horizontally across the last 10 years, but also vertically? The Alexa story, the Amazon Go story, the India and China story, Hollywood, and then HQ2, antitrust, and Bezos' own personal drama. And, you see how I did it in the book. It's, I started 2010 with Bezos coming up with the idea of Alexa. I end in 2020 and some of the increased antitrust scrutiny and Amazon navigating the pandemic. And so the horizontal story is kind of teased throughout, but there are also chapters devoted to Alexa and Go and India and Hollywood. So you just have to do a little bit of both. Stephen Levy, who
Sure.
once told me this thing that for a long time I had up on my wall. It was this advice. He said, find the straight line. And that's the thread that takes you from the beginning to the end of the story. So however many digressions, diversions, or chapter subheadings you go into, always keep the straight line in mind, the beginning to the end.
What do you think the straight line of, and I want to let's just get into Jeff as a person. What is the straight line of Jeff Bezos?
Well, I mean, it's a guy who
seems
quit
to have
his
taken
job.
a quick turn, right? I mean,
I don't know if it's how straight it is. There's many zigs and zags, but roughly speaking, it's a guy who had a successful career on Wall Street in the early 90s, who quit his job to bet big and bet early on the internet. And over the course of 25 years, many ups and downs, being written off as almost the personification of .com hubris at one point, became the richest guy in the world, built a recognizable corporate franchise that's changed the world, and in the process changed himself, and became a much different person, and a very polarizing and controversial figure. So, roughly speaking, it's an incredible journey. He looks different. He sounds different. He, some things have remained the same, but sometimes I look or I listen. I went to his rocket launch in Van Horn, Texas, and sometimes I don't recognize him. He's changed quite a bit.
Before we get into the ad, let me just tell you straight up, LinkedIn.com/twist, your first job posting free. I'm not kidding. LinkedIn.com/twist, your first job listing free. Nothing to lose. Okay, now on to the ad. Too many small business owners are busier than ever. They spend time searching for and interviewing the wrong candidates for a job opening, and it would be much better for them to spend their time growing their business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has made it easier to get the candidates worth interviewing faster, and that's why they're giving you the first job listing for free at LinkedIn.com/twist. They know it's going to work. Here's how it works. You create a free post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs, and you reach the world's largest professional network with over 750 million people. I remember reading this ad when it was like 150 million. My God, they're growing. It's like one of the biggest growth stories inside of Microsoft, in fact. So they focus on candidates with the skills and experience that you need, and you can use screening questions to get your role in front of the most qualified people. We love LinkedIn Jobs at launch, and in 2021, we've hired a third producer, a curriculum designer for Foundry University, and 2 more researchers, and we're still hiring for 3 more positions using, you guessed it, LinkedIn Jobs. So LinkedIn Jobs will help you find the candidates that are worth interviewing faster. Every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn. So post your job for free at LinkedIn.com/twist. Terms and conditions apply because they're giving you something for free. Okay, let's get back to the program.